Hi, welcome to my video on adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator. Adding fractions with the same denominator. Let's look at the three rectangles I have drawn here. These rectangles are identical. Notice that I have 5 spaces, blocks in each. So if I take A and shade in 3 of the 5 parts, so that's 3 out of 5, which is 3/5. If I take B and shade in 1 part of the 5, that's 1/5. If you notice that if I take these two and join them together, then I will get 4 parts. So 3 and 4 put together, 3 and 1 put together will give me the 4. So notice this is 4/5. So really, I'm adding these fractions together. So 3/5 plus 1/5 will give me the 4/5. We notice that in this fraction of 4 over 5, the 5 is the same denominator, so 4 can be 3 plus 1. Hence, we can say that 3 plus 5, add on 1 plus 5, is the same as 3 plus 1 over 5, which is 4 over 5. So if 4/5 equals 3 plus 1 over 5, and 4/5 equals 3 over 5 plus 1 over 5, then we can make this statement. Notice when we add fractions with the same denominator, we keep the denominator of 5 and we add the numerators. And when we add them, we get the 4. So this is a rule for addition of fractions with the same or common denominator. If you have A over B and A and C over B, then you add A and C together over your denominator of B. Notice all these A, B, and C's are natural numbers. No worries about B being 0. Only the naturals. Let's do a few samples. 3 over 7 plus 2 over 7 is the same as 3 plus 2 over 7, which is 5 over 7. When we add fractions with the same denominators, we add the numerators, and so same denominator is 8, so 2 plus 6 is placed on top. 2 and 6 make 8. 8 over 8 is 1. 5 over 11 plus 4 over 11 becomes 5 plus 4 over 11, which is 9 over 11. So we add the numerators and keep the denominator. We add the numerators and keep the denominator. That gives us 10 over 13. When we add fractions, we need the same denominator. We have the same denominator, so we keep the denominator and add the numerators. So I get 2 over 3. We keep the denominator of 9 and we add the numerators. When you get used to it, you can just look at these and say, what's 3 plus 2? 5. So we just, without writing, I'm just putting this in between step here. This is showing you what's going on, but when you get used to it, you can avoid this middle step, but only when you know what you're doing. Let's practice. Pause the video and play it back to see if you're right. 3 plus 5 over 17 is 8 over 17. 2 plus 4 over 7 is 6 over 7. Again, we add the numerators, keep the denominator. Add the numerators, keep your denominator. 5 over 6. Add the numerators, keep your denominator. 5 over 5 simplifies to a 1. Add the numerators, 3 and 4, keep your denominator. Add your numerators, 4 plus 7 over 15. 11 over 15. Again, when you're adding fractions with the same denominator, you add the numerators and keep your denominator. How about subtraction of fractions with the same denominator? Again, we have these three rectangles identical, 5 parts. So if we shade the 4 parts here, let's reverse it this time, we have a 4 out of 5, 4/5. If we shade the 3 parts here, and we have 3 out of 5, which is 3/5. If we have 4/5, 4 parts and 3 parts, and we take away 3 of these from here, so take away these 3, we're just left with, take away those 3 there, and we're left with a 1. 1/5. So if we subtract fractions, we subtract the numerators. When you add the numerators over the common denominator. So when you subtract here, when you're subtracting fractions, you subtract the numerators and keep your denominator. And this is the same as we did just then. So 4/5 subtract 3/5 is the same as 4 subtract 3 over 5, which is 1 over 5. Again, 4 minus 3 is 5. In math, we have the two denominators the same, so 4 minus 3 equals 1. So put them all together, 1/5 and 1/5, so that makes 4/5 subtract 3/5 the same as 4 subtract 3 over 5. So the rule for subtraction of fractions with the same or common denominator, a over b minus c over b is a minus c over b. Again, these are natural numbers. So when we're subtracting, we keep the denominator and subtract the numerators. We get a 1. We keep the denominator and subtract the numerators, and we get a 5. We keep the denominator of 11 and we subtract the numerators, and we get a 7 over 11. Keep saying it. Keep the denominator, subtract the numerators, and we get a 6 over 13. Subtract the numerators, keep the denominator, 2/9. Keep the denominator of 6, and 5 subtract 4 is 1/6. Practice, see if you get them right. Also notice we can do them fast. 17 is my denominator, so I subtract my numerators, 2. 10 is my denominator, I subtract my numerators, and I get a 3. 2 subtract 1 over 5 is 1 over 5. Notice, when subtracting fractions with the same denominator, I keep the denominator, subtract the numerators. I keep my denominator, and I subtract my numerators. So 10 subtract 3 is 7 over 15. Keep your denominator of 19. 15 subtract 13 gives you a 2. And I keep my denominator of 22, and 19 subtract 16 is a 3. Let's continue. One thing we do in fractions, we always reduce or simplify fractions, if possible to lowest terms. So reducing fractions, simplifying fractions, reducing to lowest terms means you simplify. So you'll see many ways to say it. But keep in mind, simplify, reduce to lowest terms. Let's simplify. What number goes into 4 also goes into 10? 2. So if you divide top and bottom, by 2, you'll get 2 over 5. 6 and 9, what's the GCF? What number is common and what factor is common? 3. So if we divide top and bottom by 3, we will get 2 over 3. Notice the 3 is a common factor, so we divide by 3. I'm showing you division by 3. Really, I can do it in my head if I want. 5 is a common factor here, the GCF. So if I divide by 5, I'll get a 3 and a 4. You could write down divide by 5 in each and work them out. 7 is my GCF here, 14. So if I divide by 7, I get a 2 and I get a 4. Notice 2 is common. I divide by 2, I get a 1 and a 2. So if you want to show your division, as in divide by, top and bottom, go ahead. But remember, always reduce fractions. What factor is the same on top and bottom? 8. Let's simplify these. Practice. You work these out and play it back. Here we go. 8. What's common? What's the GCF? I see a 2. 2 and 8 goes 4. 2 and 18 goes 9. What factor is common here? 5. 5 and 15 goes 3. 5 and 25 goes 5. What factor is common in 12 and 21? 21, I see a 7 and I see a 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 21 divided by 3 is 7. And what factor is common here? 22 and 33. There's a same number, so there's 11 in here and 11 here. So 11 into 22 is a 2. 11 into 33 is a 3. If you notice that 2 times 11, 33 is 3 times 11. So you can divide by 11. When fractions are added or subtracted, simplify and reduce if possible. Now we're doing a combination of just adding and subtracting of fractions. So, but when we add and subtract fractions, we always reduce. We always simplify a fraction. When we add fractions, we have a common denominator called 10, so we add 3 and 2 makes 5. Notice I'm not writing down 3 plus 2 now because I think you should know what to do. You always add your numerators. And what's common? 5 is common to the 2 of these as a factor. 5 into 5 goes once. 5 into 10 goes 2. Adding fractions, we have the same denominator, 12. So add up the numerators. 5 plus 5 is 10. What factors is common to 10 and 12? Or what's the GCF of 10 and 12? If you say 2, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 10 divided into 12 is 6. GCF is the greatest common factor. What factor is common to the two numbers? Notice 8 is your denominator. 5 subtract 1 is 4. And notice that the GCF of 4 and 8 is 4. 4 into 4 goes once. 4 into 8 goes 2. So 1/2 is the same as 4 over 8. 18 is my denominator. Keep your denominator. Add the numerators. 9 and 3 makes 12. What factor is common? Let's divide by 2. 6 and 9. Now we can divide by 3, which gives me 2 and 3. I could have divided by 6 right away and got 6 into 12 goes 2, 6 into 18 goes 3. But if you don't see the 6, go with the 2 first and then the 3, or the 3 and then the 2. So you just got to do it twice, that's all. Common denominator is 20, write it down. 11 subtract 7 is 4. 4 and 20 is 4 is a common factor. 4 into 4 goes once. 4 into 20 goes 5. 15 is my common denominator. Write it down. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 over 15. Common factor is 5. 5 into 5 goes once. 5 into 15 goes 3. Practice. You work these out. And here we go. What I mean by practice, you hear me say, pause the video, work these out, play it back to see if you're right. 6 is the common denominator, add the numerators, 2. 2 over 6, 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 6, 3. Common factor is 2. 5, 9 is my common denominator, and I add 5 and 1, I get 6. 6 and 9 have a 3 in common. Divide by 3, I get a 2 and a 3. 3 divided into both of these gives me 2 and 3. My denominator is 22, write it down. 13 subtract 3 is 10. What factor is common here? 2. 2 into 10 goes 5. 2 into 22 goes 11. Common denominator is 21, write it down. 10 subtract 4 is 6. 6 and 21 have a 3 as a common factor. 3 into 6 goes 2. 3 into 21 goes 7. Common denominator is 16, write it down. Add the numerators, I get 8. 5 and 3 make 8. Common factor here is 8. 8 into 8 goes once. 8 into 16 goes 2. I could have worked it the other way. I could have divided by 2 first, get a 4 and an 8. Then I could have divided by 2 again to get 2 and 4. Then I could have divided by 2 again to get 1 and 2. So seeing 8 right away makes it quicker. 27 is a common denominator, write it down. 11 subtract 8 is 3. Is 3 a factor of 27? Yes. 3 into 3 goes once. 3 into 27 goes 9. Always reduce fractions. It just makes it easier if you had to work it further. What about a combination of more than one? Addition and subtraction in the same one. The same thing. We write down our common denominator of 11 because they're all the same. So we go 10, subtract 10 plus 3, subtract 8. And that gives you 13, subtract 8 over 11. That gives you a 5 over 11. Now this is a lot of writing down, but if you put down the 11 and go 13 plus 10 plus 3 is 13 minus 8 is 5, then you work it out faster. So it's your choice. Write down the 16 and write down 15 minus 2 minus 4. And 15 minus 2 is 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. 9 over 16. Again, denominator is 10. Write it down. 9 minus 3 is 6. Plus 2 is 8. But 8 and 10 can reduce down. 2 into 8 goes 4. 2 into 10 goes 5. Always reduce. 5 is can't reduce 5 any further. 9 is 3 and 3. Can't go into 16. 16 is even. So we can reduce it here. Sometimes you can reduce, sometimes you can't. Common denominator is 12. So make it quick. 5 plus 1 is 6. Plus 3 is 9. You can write them all down like we did up here, but it just takes time. We want to work things out fast if we can. 3 is a common factor here, so 3 into 9 goes 3. 3 into 12 goes 4. 8 is your common denominator, so 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. And 4 is your GCF. 4 into 4 goes once. 4 into 8 goes 2. 15 is your common denominator. Write it down. And 14 subtract 2 is 12. Subtract 2 is 10. What factor is in both of these the same? 5. 5 into 10 goes 2. 5 into 15 goes 3. Practice. Pause. Work them out. And play back. Common denominator is 14. Write it down. 11 subtract 8 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. And what number is this, or what factor is the same? 7. 7 to 7 goes once. 7 to 14 goes 2. Common denominator is 20. Write it down. 13 plus 3 is 16. Minus 1 is 15. And what factor is the same in both of these? 5. 5 into 15 goes 3. 5 into 20 goes 4. Common denominator is 18. Write it down. 17 minus 7 is 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. Let's see. Pretend I don't see the 6. 2 into 6 goes 3. 2 into 18 goes 9 because they're even. 3 into 3 goes once. 3 into 9 goes 3. So again, if you had to divide it by 6 right away, 6 into both of these gives you 1/3. 9 is your common denominator, so we add 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 over 9 can't reduce. 7 is prime. 39 is your common denominator. 35 subtract 11 is 24. 24 add on 2 is 26. 26 is what? 2 times 13. 13 is a factor of 39. So we can reduce 13 into 26 is 2. 13 and 39 is 3. 13 is a factor of 26 times 2 is 13. 3 times 13 is 39. The 13 is divide both numbers by 13 and we reduce. You got to watch out, make sure it's fully reduced. Keep 100 is in my denominator. 83 add on 7 is 90. 90 subtract 10 is 80. Notice now we can divide by 10 so we can scratch the zeros. 2 into 8 goes 4. 2 into 10 goes 5. Again, we could have divided by 10, same as scratching the zeros. Sometimes we can work the order of operations in fractions. Also, order of operations always around, always around. So, PEMDAS or BEDMAS is brackets, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, or BEDMAS is brackets, parentheses, the same thing. Whichever way you memorize this. But the order is always due inside of the brackets first. So let's obey that. Common denominator is 12, write it down, and add. We get a 9. 7 and 2 makes 9. Now we subtract. So we do inside the brackets first. Common denominator is still 12, and 11, subtract 9 is 2. And 2 over 12, 2 is a common denominator, so you divide by 2. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 12 goes 6. Now we have two brackets. We have to work the inside brackets first. 15 is a common denominator, so 4 plus 7 is 11. 15 is my common denominator inside, and 11 subtract 7 is, 8 subtract 7 is 1. After I got both brackets done, then I have to subtract. So notice brackets, inside of the brackets first. 15 is my common denominator. 11 subtract 1 is 10. What number is common to 10 and 15? Factors of 5. 5 into 10 goes 2. 5 into 15 goes 3. We have to do inside of our brackets first. Let's see, 18 is my common denominator. Write it down. 11 plus 5 is 16. 16 minus 15 is a 1. We have a common denominator, 18. Notice I did inside of this bracket first. After I get that done, I subtract. Write down my 18 because it's common. 13 subtract 1 is 12. What factor is this? This in 12 is also in 18. I could go 2 to get a 6 and a 9. Then I can see a 3. 3 into 6 is 2. 3 into 3 is 9. If you've seen 6 right away, you would have got 12 divided by 6 is 2. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Number 4, we do the inside of the bracket. 21 is my common denominator. So I'm doing the inside of the bracket first. 17 subtract 2 is 15. 15 plus 4 is 19. So again, I can do these in my head without writing them all down, saves time. And we have a common denominator of 21. So 19 subtract 4 is 15. And we reduce this down, can we? 3, yes, I see a 3 common. 3 is a common factor. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Reduces down. We have to do the inside of the brackets first. So we write down the other part, and we subtract. Work the inside of the brackets first. 16 is my common denominator. 11 subtract 5 is a 6. Now we have to work this out. We still have a common denominator of 16. Write it down. 15 subtract 6 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. And 10 over 16, 2 is common, so 2 into 10 goes 5. 2 into 16 goes 8. Notice, always reduce your fractions. Just a summary, adding and subtracting fractions with the same or common denominator. We add or subtract the numerators, we keep the denominator, and we simplify when we're finished. Very important, very important. If you like my video, then click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell, and if you want, write a comment on my videos, how I'm explaining things. Let people know, good or bad. And if you look at my website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, you'll see information about my degrees, my teaching experience. You'll see information on my teaching strategies that I use to help my students understand math better. And in the content, in the section on content, you have the topics, you have the number of videos on each topic. The topics completed are in black font. The topics to be completed are going to be in red font. I thank you for your time. Bye-bye.